For the past 4 years, Virginia Jamison has been the city council member for residents of North Charleston's District 3 on city council. And now she's asking residents this fall to give her another chance. I speak exclusively with Virginia about her re-election bid for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. And of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Virginia Jamison, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, Quintin. You're always so generous in your accolades.
Oh, thank you greatly. I really appreciate it. Well, obviously, you have a lot of accolades, obviously as a retired military woman and currently a North Charleston City Council member. And I know that recently you just said, hey, you wanted to know where do you go from here? Where do you go here with North Charleston City Council in your mind?
Well, I spent the year vacillating about where do I go from here and whether I stay or go. And I've decided to stay because we need strong voices. We need people who are not going to just drop the gauntlet and go on about their business. But you've got to stay in the trenches and you've got to fight for education. You've got to fight for livability in our communities. You've got to fight for quality of life. And you've got to fight for fairness. We have become a society that we don't even know right and wrong anymore. But I always ask myself, am I fair? Are we fair as a city in our zoning and rezonings? Are we fair as a city on how we treat the citizens who have occupied this city for years and years and years? Lived the whole community since 1871. Are we fair?
In my interview with you for Quintin's Close-Ups in January, we sat at your kitchen table in North Charleston. That was a fun time. And we talked about livability and quality of life, particularly about your issue. Many people call it I-26 noise. You call it a corridor of noise. You said that it's really tiring. You said this quote, a lot of energy has gone into this. We've gotten everyone's attention, but we've gotten practically no action. From January to now, what action have you have been able to take on this issue?
From January until now, Quintin, I was able to meet with Chairman Elliott Sunny with Charleston County. And he gave me a letter saying that he has asked his staff to go back to the drawing board, redo that noise study, look at it a little bit more closely, and for us to start finding B-U-I-L-D grants for completion of some kind of noise modality that would give us our quality of life back. Noise within itself, Quintin, is really debilitating. It can exacerbate high blood pressure, cardiovascular diseases, all of the things that we're known for in the Low Country is exacerbated by noise.
How much is that grant going to total in your mind?
Well, in my mind, since we've vacillated for 10 years, it's probably going to be about $12 million. But Quintin, when I hear about, Ms. Washington, when I hear about 526, 130 something billion, maybe with a B or more, when I hear about now they're going to do a seawall around the battery that's going to be built $1 billion or more, I am just asking myself, do we as elected officials, do we from the top down, do we care? Now, we've been talking about this for 10 years. In my communities, a lot of great women and men has gone on to glory. And this was supposed to be their aging in place home. This is their single level home where they could get to and from their bathroom, their living room, on their walker. Now everything that they're building, cracker box. First level, second level, probably a third level. No walking space, everything is just right together. People would say, well, why don't you move? Well, why would I want to move when I have the ideal house for me, for my family, whenever you could just walk in the door and not have to climb some steps. That's called quality of life, in my opinion. And I value that. And so many of the seniors in my community, they value that also.
And I remember in an interview also, you told me this District 3, you have a lot of senior citizens, you have children, retirees, and active duty military officials. And of course, you've been living in that house since I've been living, and I've been living 4 years.
You're absolutely correct. And Quintin, with home ownerships, there is a lot of responsibilities. Not only are you investing in something, and you're going to be able to reap those benefits. Not us, but normally with home ownership. And as you live in a house that you feel so comfortable with, you do upgrades. You upgrade your bathroom, you upgrade those floors. You have that tendency to change. And I'm a carpet person, not a hardwood person. So you have the tendency to change out that carpeting frequently. You enclose your back porch so that you could have an area to go out and relax. I'm trying to find this a kind of foot piece that I could just, kind of recline.
Right.
So those are things that are important, not only to me, but to the people who has given so much to this community. Again, retired military, retired civilian from the Navy shipyard that worked their fingers to the bone to make sure that we were the best of the best of the best. Groton, Connecticut has nothing on Charleston, South Carolina.
And I know you talked earlier about upgrades. I know also back in the interview in January, you said, hey, lighting in the community has not been updated. Where are we with this?
The lights are on, but we cannot see. And to say, even we hear people talk about, well, Charleston is only like less than 30 years old. But you've got to reinvest in the communities. You've got to put something back. And lighting is so important. Lighting is one of the filters that would reduce crime. Because if the lights are on, those criminals are not going to be walking around late at night. That's for sure. And again, we have new ideas, new initiatives in lighting. We have LED lighting now. We have all of these high-end things. So I'm asking my city to make District 3 like their little poster child, do some upgrades, let us, get our footing, and then reinvest elsewhere. I mean, it's just a matter of putting the dollar bills where it's most vital for our communities.
And you talk about the communities, you said this quote, it takes a whole village city to reduce crime. How have you been able to reduce crime with this village?
Well, I got to applaud Chief Burgess. That is the hardest working man in police enforcement.
Right.
Chief Burgess is out there all day long, every day. He's trying to get new ideas. He's traveling. He went to Boston to see an initiative that they had. I think he said he went to Tennessee to see an initiative that they had.
Right.
He's bringing that back to community. We're doing some neighborhood policing. We have neighborhood resource officers that I don't have to call the 911. I mean, if the situation dictates that, of course, I'm calling 911. But if it's something that's going on in our communities, I have access to that person that I could call him on the phone. He could check it for me. The police does not have to come 3 deep, 5 deep, or whatever. So that's a big thing. My neighborhood resource officer is just a community-oriented police officer with a lot of years of being a police officer. So he came and we talked about things that I would like to see happen, in a community of this magnitude. And we immediately got to work. Quintin, the first thing we did is went to one of our public housing areas. We met with the staff, we walked the community, we kind of, passed out our cards.
Sure.
And the second thing we did is we walked one street in Northwoods.
Oh, yeah.
Well, as I got there, God put it in my spirit. Virginia, y'all need to go into that community center where they have the after-school program. So there was about 60 children in that community center. We got to high-five them. We got to tell them we're available. Here's my card. You can call me. If you just want to talk about anything, we are available to you. Now, where does that go? A long ways to breaking down the mistrust and all of those things. A police officer going to tell 60 kids that they can call him. That is awesome. So it goes back to the chief and how he is a grassroots person. He loves to talk about Union Heights and Liberty Hill, and I personally know his mom, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So he is a person that has the spirit for North Charleston. Let's give him some free rein. Let's allow him to build that police department to serve this community. Every community is different. But now we have a grassroots person who could serve this community.
How much range has he been able to have so far?
I think that Mayor Sammy is the employer with his staff. I think he's gotten some rein. They're loosening it just a little bit. But we've got a long ways to go.
Okay.
We went through a lot of things. The young man that was killed, that whole trial, all of that, and it was in North Charleston, but then the Emmanuel 9, right on, and then we hear this, that, and the other things. And I'm the person that I'll go to our internal affairs to ask what happened. And then we came up with our Citizens Advisory Commission.
Right.
And that was 2 persons from each district was assigned to the commission. And then we got some partners from businesses, and then a partner from the school, high school. So we thought that we'd bring that together, have a conversation, let them see what they can do about the community advocacy and being in here with the police department and see how that goes. Well, we're still going down that road. The one thing that happened and it really bothered me, Quintin, is that Cajun
Oh, yeah.
asked our Citizens Advisory Commission to request an audit of our police department. So what is the audit going to consist of? Is it going to consist of what we did 3 years ago? Is it going to consist of what we're doing now? So my question to Cajun is, have you given the chief enough time to really get some things going that would change the face of our past?
How many more questions do you have for Cajun right now?
Well, I'm starting to kind of see some of the things they're trying to do, but I think it's the kind of tactic they use. And me being prior military,
right,
and knowing that it happens with you working in the trenches and then you get in that elevation, and it's a step process. But it seems like they want the whole step without without crawling and then standing up and then finding your way. And it doesn't work like that. People have to come to a table with ideas. We do pack teams,
Sure.
where you come to the table with ideas. We walk that around that table,
Right.
and then we take the best of the best that's going to work for us. But I just hear demands. I like their affordable housing piece. I attended several meetings, but it sounds like everybody is not on the same page, because for affordable housing, which there are no affordable housing, anytime you build a house, by the time you get the land, by the time you get all the materials, by the time you pull all of the permits, by the time you do all of the easements and right-of-ways and all of that, and then give back to that area to help with some sidewalks, and there is no affordable housing. So what we have to do is educate our children to get that education, to be able to afford a house wherever that house is, okay? Because Quintin, if I give you everything, and I'm not afforded the opportunity to teach you how to keep that, then how will you keep it? You follow me?
Oh, I'm listening. You talk about there's no affordable housing. What type of housing do you have in District 3?
Well, District 3 is a very eclectic community, because we have high-end, we have low-end, we have public housing, and we have some like apartment complexes that's not affordable. So it is a broader section of diversity, of high income, low income,
Sure.
retirees who are, who vested themselves, who got that education, who got that job, and now they're, living on those promises that they kept. So it's a little bit different story for us. But if we do not take care of these communities, the few that are left, that are in good standing, Quintin, we're going to have the same kind of problem all over again. Everybody is looking for affordable housing. People are leaving for whatever reason. They die, they move on, or whatever. So they're leaving houses. In the death situation, the young children, the children of the older people,
Right.
they've already gotten their education. They've already bought their high-end house. So now this becomes rental property on top of that senior citizen who's still aging in place. Okay.
You talk about rental property. What kind of problems or changes have you seen when it comes to short-term rentals in your district?
Well, again, I've lived in Northwoods, and that is primarily, but we have a lot of areas around. We have Baker's Plantation,
Okay.
which is a new development. We have high-end, the Elms Plantation, which is gated. We have Otranto,
Right.
Otranto Villas. We have like a lot of gated areas, but we have Northwoods and Deer Park.
Sure.
So what I see in Northwoods, a very, very like meshed community now that people are, leaving or for whatever reason. We see renters come in, and we see that they're not keeping their properties, that property, up to standards. They're not, on trash day,
Okay.
you have 24 hours to take that trash container back. Well, Saturday I was driving, our trash was on Wednesday, our trash day was Wednesday, and Saturday I was driving. I had to get out of my car to put the trash receptacle back to the, back off of the street, because it was in the street.
Right.
So those are the kind of things that bring down the value. I tell people that when a realtor comes to a community, when they're contracted to sell a home
Right.
in that community,
Right.
that realtor has the opportunity to look at 3 homes in that community. he could pick the very best or he could pick the very worst. So it kind of borders on your property value. It could bring it down, you know, just from the appearance of the neighborhood. The one other thing that I see as a problem is that we don't have a strong enough property owner rental agreement.
Okay.
I don't think we enforce it enough. I've spoken to the mayor about that, and he said that he was going to arrange for me to speak with our code enforcement director to maybe come up with some ideas, and I certainly hope that happens.
Okay.
Part of the reason I'm staying. But that is really a problem. When my mother went home to be with the Lord, she left me property that I have rented. It's a nightmare. And the one thing that Cajun did, they spoke about rentals and that we had the highest number of eviction notice in the city of North Charleston, in the United States. That's what they said. I didn't read the data on that. So I asked somebody, so what is the number one cause of eviction? The number one cause of eviction is that you did not pay the rent. The second cause of eviction is if I get a notice from the code enforcer for $1,000 because of something my tenant did not do, you're out of here. Homeownership is the best thing, but we have to teach people how to become homeowners. We have to teach them how to maintain that. We got to teach them about taxes. We got to teach them about responsibility. We got to teach them about maintenance on that home. We got to teach them about upgrades. We got to teach them about property value. Property value.
You talked about, obviously, renters coming into your community. What about those developers? If they were to come to your community, what incentives do you want them to bring?
Well, you got to be very careful when you're asking, you know, for incentives. And I'm probably the boldest person in the world because I think to whom much is given, much is required. I think that developers, and I'll give you a prime example.
Okay.
Mixing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I can't understand how can a developer come and invest that kind of monies in developing this high-end property and not feel the need to invest something in Liberty Hill? Because when that person comes to buy the condo at the Mixon, where are they? They're going to roll through where? Liberty Hill. So it doesn't make sense. I witnessed something yesterday. I needed to go to the School of the Arts for the education finale on all of the things that these groups looked at. I work with the Cradle to Career group, and I drove, and it's Attaway.
Oh, yes.
You come off of Remount Road, you go through Attaway, and that is called Charleston Farms.
Right.
And then you come to Oak Terrace Preserve.
Sure.
Come on now. I mean, I've done it many times, but yesterday I was just really watching. And
and obviously you've been serving for the past 4 years as councilwoman for District 3. If an average person, voter, resident of your district come to you and say, hey, Ms. Jamison, what have you done? What would you say?
well, I think that I have been a communicator. Maybe some people won't say that, but you can't please everybody. The first thing I did is I created a newsletter that I put out monthly. I started attending every possible meeting to find out first, what are the needs of this community? and I drive the communities at least once a week, the whole district, okay? So I kind of know people by face, and I stop and talk and all of that thing. So I think I did that the first year out.
Okay.
Then I started looking at the really things that we need. We have ponds in Northwoods. We have one pond in Deer Park. So I found out who was responsible for those ponds. Because if you have a 40-year-old pond and you have not dredged it at all in 40 years, then the sediment, the sludge, whatever is at the bottom, just keeps that pond, the bottom of the pond, rising. So it can't hold as much water as it did when it was first created. And these are retention ponds for storm water drain off. So I found out who was responsible for the ponds. I went to work on that. I started looking at the lighting. We spoke about that all the time. I started looking at traffic. I started pulling those traffic reports. How many people travel Shadow Road? What do we need on Shadow to calm that down? Then I started contacting people to find out. Each community has like civic leagues.
Oh, yes.
So I made sure that I knew who my community leaders are. Went to the Elms, found out what their needs were. We spoke with Otranto Villa, which is a kind of isolated little tiny area, and their HOA.
Oh, yes.
They have a lot of responsibilities that they cannot financially keep up with. So I tried to find a grant that would help them maintain their pool, but because of the income status of the area, there are no grants available. So I'm going to work, if in the next 4 years, if I'm reelected, then I will be working to find some monies from somewhere just to help them boost up their neighborhood. Great people, great little area, but they need some amenities that they cannot afford.
What are the amenities right now that they do need, actually?
Well, they need some help with the street paving. They need some help with, they have a retention pond.
Right.
They need some help with that. We tried to help, but it requires a lot, and the city is not responsible for that. They need some help with just bringing up their pool house standards. Just things like that they're supposed to be paying HOA dues, but evidently it's not working for them.
Now, with those dues, how much are those?
I have no idea, but it's not enough. And because these are senior people, there's a blend, middle age and then seniors, and so they're trying to live their best life also. So it's really a problem for them. The other thing is that I'm a communicator and I'm talking to people. Sometimes a community will tell you what they need. Sometimes because there's a breakdown in communication, they don't know what they need. But if I drive a community and I see that they need something, I'm going to find out why. We had a really bad problem in Northwoods, and the traffic is so heavy on these long winding roads. So we put in some stop signs hoping to calm it down.
Okay.
Well, that worked, but we needed speed humps and a lot of people, bumps. And a lot of people are not advocates of speed humps because they say it slows the first responders down, and it does this and it does that. But and I'm saying, well, now we have fire stations within our communities. We have first responders at that fire station. So that's an old reason not to have speed humps or bumps. So we talked about that. We did get one speed hump. Recently, we were told that we're going to get 8 more for a total of 10 for the district.
Okay.
I've already seen the places that they should go. There's one man that lived on a 40-year-old street that had never been paved, so now we got a street paved, so now he wants a speed hump. So it's a continuous thing, and I love the way that people just walk up to me and tell me what they want, or they call me on the phone and say, Virginia, what about such and that? And I love that. I'm a people's person. I'm a healthcare provider.
Right.
I had worked for 44 years,
Right.
did medical air-vac, where I was, I told a lot of people what to do. And so that is something that I really pride myself on, being able to listen, to hear, and to act.
Well, that's great to hear. Well, Virginia Jamison, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
Thank you so much, Mr. Washington, for affording me this opportunity and for the inclusion. And hopefully I'm going to have more things to work on, work with in the coming 4 years if I'm reelected to North Charleston City Council, District 3.
We'll be seeing what happens. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.